So here's part 4 of this Friday Value video series that I'm doing on the foot, specifically aimed at some better understanding of why plantar fasciitis may be occurring with someone's body. And there's a lot here to learn, which is why this is a multi-part series. So we've already talked about how, why shoes and orthotics may not be benefiting someone, and how even though it feels like it's benefiting them, they may end up having other issues that they don't relate to the orthotics or the shoes. And we then talked about how that foot has to have a very specific ability to invert and evert at the right time, for the right amount of time, at the right time. And also, we then talked about the hips and how that impacts the hips. Now I want to talk about the thoracic spine. So I thought I would show you here with Betty Bones. So the thoracic spine is the part of the spine where your ribs attach. So it's from T1 down to T12, okay? Now you've got your floating ribs down here, a couple of ribs that don't come around to the front of the body. So, you've got 10 that come around to the front and the bottom 2 don't. But that thoracic spine has a massive influence on what happens with your body when you're walking, when you're running, when you're playing sports, when you're playing golf, when you're swinging anything, whether it's a bat or a tennis racket. Oh my goodness, it's so impactful. And a lot of the times as people age, their thoracic spine loses motion. It stops rotating maybe to one side or both sides. It lacks. There's a lack. Maybe it stops extending. Usually it's at the top, and that can impact shoulder flexion. If your thoracic spine can't extend at the top, your arm stops about here. Or you might say, oh, I can bring my arm all the way up here. But if it's way out there to the side and it's not right next to your ear, guess what? Your thoracic spine at the top is not extending. So, and as we age, that's critical. And that can lead to neck pain and shoulder pain and low back pain and all kinds of stuff. But I won't get off on that tangent. We're talking about feet right now. So as you learned in the last one, that ankle is impacted. It internally rotates and it externally rotates because of what the heel bone does during the gait cycle, right? So how does the thoracic spine get impacted by that? Your thoracic spine actually gets impacted by what happens at the foot, but your thoracic spine also impacts what happens to the foot, right? So it's really important for you to understand that you need that rotation. You need a little side bend, a little flexion extension of the thoracic spine in order to not end up with other issues. So if that foot is not inverting and everting, so the talus is not dropping down and in or rotating up and out, so it's not triggering your shin bone to rotate in or rotate out, which triggers your thigh bone to rotate in and rotate out, which gets your hips doing all kinds of beautiful things. Your thoracic spine also responds to that, and it rotates, and it does some little side bending, a little flexion extension, and it impacts the low back. So if the low back, which mostly flexes and extends, bends forward and back, doesn't really do a lot, it's up to like 13 degrees of rotation, very small amount, and very small amount of side bend. Its job is really to bend forward and back. If the thoracic spine above it is lacking rotation and lateral flexion or side bending, guess what? Your low back's not happy. Your neck won't be happy. Your shoulders won't be happy. You're going to have symptoms in more than one place usually. And will you relate it to the fact that you're wearing a certain shoe or a certain orthotic that's inhibiting proper function of the heel, or you're not using anything and your heel's not doing what it needs to do? And so finding the right orthotic or shoe may benefit you immensely. Sometimes what you need to do is train your foot and ankle with proper 3-plane functional training, and it can restore a whole lot without the need of an orthotic or a shoe. Everybody's unique. Everybody's individual. And understanding this can be critical at resolving the pain. All right, I look forward to the next part.